Hello friends, family and other creatures of the sea, and welcome back to another professional game of StarCraft 2. Here in the bottom left corner spawning as the red Zerg player playing for Team Ents. It's going to be Serral. And in the top right spawning as the blue Terran player playing for Team NV. It is going to be Maru, written with a capital M this time. Maru usually with a small m, this time with a capital M. And he is a pretty big player, I have to admit. Recently he's been showing some, well, slow TVZ, I would say. He's actually been applying the similar principles to both TVZ and TVP. And that if he is ahead in the matchup, he tries very hard to kill his opponent and do it quickly. But if he doesn't feel ahead after the early game, he'll go into ultra turtle mode. And he just won't move out until he has infinite orbital commands, he has a very solid late game army, then he'll play from there. He does it in TVP, loves to go into those Liberator Ghost compositions. We saw him do it against Harstem, we saw him do it against Hero, Classic, just so powerful with those. And in TVZ we've seen him do it a whole bunch as well, against Rogue, against Serral before. He's just very fond of these long late games. He seems to have very good stamina. Seems to have no trouble staying up to speed with any of these players either. Maru, one of the faster Terrans. Well, just one of the fastest players in general in the world. The first Reaper's gonna make its way across the map here. And we're gonna be following that bad boy. See if it has anything useful to do here. If it does what? Of course, it's a rather large rush distance here. So it wouldn't completely surprise me if all he gets is a single ling or even less perhaps. Especially this being played, I think, on the west server or on the central server, which makes it Reaper Micro a little bit more tricky. You see Queen in the main base is going to be injecting first, and the Queen on the natural will get the creep tumor down for, well, practically free. Big plays. Reaper's going to obviously pop around. We see a third CC coming out very quickly here for Maru. So it's delaying that second gas, gonna be delaying those first two Hellions as well, if you don't quite have the money for it. Usually you even get a second gas before you start the Hellions, especially if you want to be getting into Banshees. That's exactly what we're seeing here. So a bit of a delay on the Hellions. That's of course normal with this opener, but that is an indication that Serral can read. So if you're a Zerg player and you're wondering, hey, how do I know the difference between a double CC with fast second gas and thus faster Banshees or faster air units coming out, and between the triple CC? Well, there's a couple of things. Number one is that there's no need for a third depot for the Terran, because they will rely on their third command center from unsupply blocking them. So if you don't see a depot down at like 335 with a Zergling, very often it is going to be triple CC. Another good tell is of course the Hellion timing. If the Hellions pop out about, well, what is it, 25 seconds later than usual with a 2-gas, then it most likely also is going to be a triple CC. Now we have seen Terrans obviously try to trick Zergs and hide a third depot behind a mineral line, but the Hellion tell especially is a very big tell. We are still going to see Serral try to sacrifice his Overlord, maybe get a little bit of scouting information, perhaps if this Viking isn't here and it's just something like a medevac opener or a liberator opener, perhaps Serral can scout to see if there's an armory there, or maybe if there's a fusion core on the way. So even though that Overlord seems like a bit of a waste because they didn't see anything, it doesn't actually matter because that Overlord would have died to the Viking anyway. So you send it in, because if it's a Viking, you're gonna die no matter what. And if it isn't a Viking, you might actually get some useful information. Even if there's 2, 3, or 4 Marines over here, the fact that there's 3 or 4 Marines over there is also information that is going to be useful for the Zerg player. And from there on out, he can kind of get a response going. Armory is going to be actually pretty delayed. I think kind of forgot about that armory, honestly, because this is a well-dedicated timing usually with these Marauders, but the armory still has 20 seconds to build. That's kind of odd, honestly. And the medevac showing at the front makes this such an obvious Hellbat push. I'm 90% sure he just forgot about that armory. It's just going to be 6-7 seconds too late. We now see 3 more Queens on the way. These links immediately being sent across the map for a run by, which is the correct call majority of the time. Wants to catch these Hellions though. Gonna lose a couple of links. Because if there's Hellbats, the only thing that Lynx can do is force this wall to be repaired and force the follow-up Hellions to stay at home. There's a crap ton of queens here at the front and there's so many transfuses. I have a very difficult time seeing this do anything. Actually, Serral missing a transfuse there, losing a queen with about 50 energy. We're gonna see another transfuse go down on a queen. And this gets absolutely pushed back. And so far the losses are in favor, well, slightly still of Maru. But that's... No, it's not brilliant. Of course, this is with a triple CC, which means that the worker counts are going to be close. But this is a very clean defense. And with this type of queen count of 11 queens, you're going to be able to start spreading creep like a madman. You're going to be safe for the majority of the game. And even though the worker count right now is pretty close, what you shouldn't forget is that one of the things that the Hellbat push really does is it delays Barracks 2 and 3. So the more Hellions you build, the later Barracks 2 and 3 tend to be. And that means that the first 2 medevacs, with the 16 Marines that usually come out, are also going to be delayed. So even though during that push and just after the push the drone count is equal, right now we see Serral saying, hey, I just stopped your Hellbat push. You built what, 10, 12 Hellions maybe? What was it? Okay, 3 Hellions have gone down. So it was, well, 11 Hellions actually. You've built 11 Hellions. I can just drone up to 76, maybe could even go to 80, 84. I think a 5th base could be in the works as well here. Wouldn't completely surprise me. We see a macro hatch instead here over at the 3rd. I also do like that. We actually see a small supply lead over here for Serral, who's now going to be getting a lot of his upgrades. We'll be getting the centrifugal hooks. What's this? Pneumatized carapace. There we go. As well as a Hydra then being thrown down. And as we're on 5 gas, most likely going into that Hydra Bane composition. Rocks are being worked on, creep is being spread, and 7 minutes and 30 seconds into the game. And the Finnish Zerg is looking absolutely magnificent so far. And as I mentioned before, whenever Maru isn't looking all too hot, he doesn't like to be overly aggressive. You still need to push a little bit, you still need to do some things, but he won't be going for these big pushes trying to win the game. He'll try to clear a little bit of creep on the left, a little bit of creep on the right. If he can, maybe, no, I don't actually think he can cancel a 5th base or snipe a drone here and there. That would be kind of difficult. I think we just saw a Baneling attack over here. Didn't quite work. I think Serral actually was planning on doing some Baneling drops. But with this sensor tower already being built, that's going to be a very difficult task. Instead, we're going to be seeing this used as a run-by. Maru already on 73 workers, actually kind of pulling ahead in supply here. I'm surprised by that. I really am surprised by that. Feels like that Serral maybe played it a little bit too slow on the drone count still. Built a lot of units while there's no real major threat here. Maru feeling confident as well, starts pushing across the map. This run-by is, well, it's not going to actually commence as it gets caught by this Hellbat Marine mine push. But I kind of misread the game here. It feels like Maru actually is going to be rather aggressive and start pushing forward. Of course, I'm wrong quite often as well. No shame in that. See the spore on the low ground. No spores on the high ground yet, which makes this type of push very tricky to deal with. At the same time, 5th base actually is going to get cancelled. So far all of my calls have been completely incorrect. It's nice to see as well. 82 workers here for Maru, and Serral, it almost feels like he wants to all-in off this comp. There's no infestation pit on the way, doesn't have a 5th base, isn't on an extremely high worker count. Perhaps a cheeky 2-2 push with a bunch of Banelings, 10, 12 Hydralisks. No, it's not going to be the case. We see 2 extra gases being taken here and 9 drones fired up at the same time. It's most likely indicating a lurker late game, but... Close. Close call, very close call. You're gonna need an Overseer at some point to clean this up though, Serral. Here we go. Overseer with that pneumatized carapace is going to be rather fast. The rapid reinforcements. Here comes a couple of Banes. We'll be connecting with all of these Mariners. Still 1 tank in the back and a couple of mines burrowed. Another Overseer needs to show up and immediately gets built, of course. Still no spores in the main, well, 1 spore in the main base, but not on the edge. Leaves the possibility for drops open. I like this tank position. That is very cute. Mines are going to get cleaned up. Tank in the far corner. It's going to be difficult for Serral to deal with. Might need to use a couple of those queens for some tanking power. Actually, with a scan, you can actually hit... Holy crap, you can hit the extractor for that. I didn't quite realize that. Also, will provide some cover here for these Marines. Ling run-by could have potentially killed that. You see Maru trying out some tricks here. Serral still... Oh, actually already has high. I still thought he was stuck on lair. With Vipers on the way already, we see Adrenal Glands being fired up here. Do we have all the upgrades yet? No, we don't quite have the range upgrade for the Hydra. We do have that Muscular Augments here, which is of course a nice start. But range upgrades does tend to be rather important. We have a Lurker then already, no Lurker then yet either. We have a big attack, well, big attack, reasonably sized attack here on the far right side. Trying to kill the 5th base, gets absolutely cleaned up. Maru's floating about 1800 minerals at this point. He is on 8 racks and is having some trouble spending all that money that is coming in off these 85 workers. What a huge amount of SCVs that is. And I'm curious to see what he's going to be doing with that. So something that I have noticed is that he really does like to get these large SCV counts, so he can throw down a bunch of orbitals. Ooh, he's going up to 11 barracks. Ooh, this is rare to see. It is so rare to see 11 barracks. That almost makes me believe that he wants to continue trading here on very high eco and be capable of reproducing at a very high rate as well. A couple of decent mine shots, a couple of them also completely missing, basically. Not quite missing, but hitting almost nothing. Parasitic bombs are being cast on these medevacts. Look at that income, 3,500 minerals a minute here for Maru. And usually it's the Zerg that kind of plays this game, just throwing units at the opponent. But now it seems that it's Maru with the superior income and the superior production here. You know, just pumping out units. 11 barracks, man. That's kind of crazy. And the orbital count also should be growing soon. We have an extra orbital over here, so that's 4. We're gonna go up to 5. This army is kind of going to get blasted. We see the trades are still favoring Maru as well. So even though he is kind of playing like a Zerg, he's still getting efficient trades at the same time. Now, of course, when we take a look at the units lost, we shouldn't forget that a lot of Terran money is also getting invested in infrastructure. That is something that Zerg doesn't need to do. Zerg doesn't need to get 3 factories and 35 barracks and so many orbital commands. That is a Terran thing. What the Zerg needs to do is they get a single building and then they're fine, which means that even though their units lost looks very bad, it doesn't show the hidden cost for the Terran, which is in all of those buildings. And it's often similar with Protoss as well when you have these PvZ games. If it is even in the units lost, that would be really bad for the non-Zerg race. Ooh, all of these mines are kind of being borrowed at the same spot. We'll end up killing some of their own. It's not the end of the world. We see a Nidus being built here. And now both players are kind of playing like a Zerg almost. Just very high eco, extreme aggression, and a high rate of reproduction. Is really what we're seeing here. Maru's gonna try to kind of move forward here. We'll be capable of sniping one of these lurkers, but loses a lot of bio. We'll need to start moving back. Another mine does hit. Now we have a single Overseer in the back, but Maru already was walking into position as he saw the Overseer and says, not today, my friend. Snipe does commence and the Overseer dies. And so does the Nidus, of course. And I'd be very surprised if Serral is going to try this trick a couple more times, because honestly, Maru might just be a little bit too good for this at that point. No, but is he really going to fall for it? There's actually a dead spot here. It's kind of funny, but oh, big blinding cloud perhaps? No, big EMP is going to hit, and a couple of banelings are going to connect as well. Not the greatest fight here for Serral, who I think if he would have caught a big blinding cloud or just even as much as a parasitic bomb on these medevacts would have gone a lot better for him. Sadly, get that EMP on his Vipers. Lurkers were not in position. There's 8 lurkers on the map, 1 on the far left side and the other 7 over here in the middle, looking perhaps for some damage. We'll be going for a bit of a run by towards that right side base perhaps. There's a sensor tower there, so I'd be surprised if this works, especially if nothing else is happening. Oh, I like this Nidus play. Serral saying, hey, you're too good to get popped into the main base. So instead what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to throw Niduses down. I'm going to use it more as a rotational tool. I do really like that. Here come the lurkers, now moving forward. Wouldn't mind to see a Nidus being popped down over here, or even further on the far left side. Immediately will pop into the Nidus, now goes into the main base. Actually, there's nothing in the main base ready. Let's take a look at this Maru first person view. Oh, he's kind of panicking. He is kind of panicking. He is aware of that knight is being there. Now he's also aware of that knight is in the main base. 6 lurkers are going to pop in. A bunch of ghosts are moving back though. This is a lot of supply that is being used. I love that Serral splitting one of these lurkers away so that it's kind of out of range of the others. And it's really assisting in that defense. Look at that first person out of Maru. Didn't quite see that lurker bro there. Now he's going to get pushed at the front as well. This base is going to get blown up. He loses an orbital at the same time. Forgets to lift it. Kind of a big deal. We have a Ling run by towards the far left side as well. A couple of Marines and Marauders were trying to help out, but this was not an efficient trade for Serral, as we can see. He lost a lot of resources, but this was a trade that if he can do a couple of these trades and lower his opponent's SCV count, perhaps they would be worth it. But Maru still just has 2k in the bank. That's a bunch of orbitals still, even though he did just lose one. I mean, we're still on 4 or 4 is not that many actually. 4 orbitals. We have 2 empty command centers as well. I'm not quite sure where that second one is. Okay, there's probably this one that was already morphing. So we could potentially go up to 5 command centers. At the same time, we see Maru pushing forward right now. Not quite in position with the mines on the right side. Wasn't prepared for the flank, but the mines burrow quickly. Ooh, good parasitic bombs though. Serral trying to get the connection on these ghosts is not quite going to get it, as these ghosts trade ridiculously well against all of these banelings, and Maru's going to keep pushing forward. Hydras are going to get cleaned up as well. And once again, well, actually this was an efficient trade here for Serral. Same time also forcing the lift on this right side base. Most likely meaning that... who forces a scan. Very cool move there. Loses 2 links, but forces a scan. Is going to lose almost every single link here. We'll get a Marine and a Marauder, but against 15 links, that's not generally considered a good trade. 50 more links are on the way here for the Finnish Zerg player. Infestor is being borrowed. Might just end up getting a decent... Oh, look at that! The sneaky infestors here out of Serral. Good old Serral. With the tricks. Oh my god! Gets the insanely big fungal. Oh, gets another good fungal. Sneaky Serral there with the burrowed infestors. Actually getting a lot done here. Baneling's getting some good connections. And that, I think, was the first trade that was in favor of Serral. Look at that. Actually getting closer in the units lost is not something we see very often. These burrowed infestors really pulling a quick one there on Maru. Good old Serral. 2 more infestors to repeat that trick. Now, even if he doesn't manage to do it again, he might be capable of forcing out a lot of blind scans from this point on. Because, well, you don't want that to ever happen again. If you get hit on the ghost and these banelings do get the connection, yeah, you're just dead. Don't forget, if you're fungled, you can't get picked up in medevacs either, so there's no real way to safety except just constantly scanning. And we see a lot of blind scans right now. Maybe that one was just meant for the lurker and not necessarily a blind scan. I'm not sure if the 5 orbitals... A lot of scans are going to be available, but it's not infinite scans, right? So if you can always force out some scans out of your opponent, that's definitely a good thing here for Serral. Just trying to defend that left side base. I think he might be capable of holding it, because he is already semi in position. Mine's going to burrow no medevacs with this army. Serral doesn't want to move down that ramp, as we see the Overseer flying in. These oddly positioned turrets here out of Maru. This thing also is going to get taken out. As Maru sends over 4 Marines, stims them quickly. With the support of 7 medevacs, they will be fine. Actually, it's 5 Marines. They're going to leave them here for a while. Take it easy for a little while, is what Maru says as he leaves these over here. That means he can't really be using F2 anymore, because then these bad boys will join up with the main army. So we see Serral pulling ahead right now in bank. That means that if he gets one more good fight, he's gonna get some potential leverage here. That's not quite in range of the planetary. Cute scan nonetheless. Here come a lot of these Marines and Marauders. Scan is going to run out before it dies. No! Lurker dies in the dying seconds of that scan as well. Do these bad boys have hold fire? Maybe? I don't know if it does. We have another lurker being sent out into a relatively random position. We'll just start taking out some buildings. I love that. Just forcing scans all around the map, making sure that Maru needs to have detection everywhere. Through the turret actually takes out the mine as well. Cute little play there. Abductions on that Liberator. Is this enough lurkers? Is this enough banelings? I'm not quite sure. And do we have enough detection? We have 3 overseers. A lot of them are kind of low though. A couple of snipes and your detection is gone. Gotta be careful there. Ghost count is at 13 currently. Once again, we have Serral trying to move forward. Good parasitic bomb. Now the ghosts are getting in position to snipe. Serral obviously anticipating this and starts moving away with these lurkers. We'll end up losing one overseer and moves a lurker towards the far right side. We'll lose it, but not before dealing a decent amount of damage. Once again, lurkers heading into every base at the same time. Look at this. You need to zoom out to see all of this action on the same screen. You have one over here as well. Another scan being used. And once again, SCVs being pulled away. Maru is struggling. How many SCVs have gone down already? We have only 31 actually. 31 drones have been killed. 28 workers have been killed. So Maru has been good at preserving these. We have another lift. Love to see a burrow, even if it's just of a single link. It's not going to happen as Serral's too busy somewhere else and can't care enough for these small amounts of links. Does force a lift, takes out a couple of SCVs. Oh, look at that. Can we see them move? Yes, you can see them move. But right now Maru isn't quite seeing it. That infestor is close. If he's not moving though, if that infestor is staying still, it's going to be so hard to figure out what's going on. And all you need is a single fungal. Turrets on the high ground are going to help out. Is Serral aware of these turrets on the high ground? Yes, he is. This is just barely out of range. Look at that. Serral's actually moving them every single time. Oh. He's preparing for a big fungal potentially here. Goes in for the flank as well at the same time. Might want to escape towards the left side. His left base is gonna get blasted actually. Ooh, infestor gets spotted. Did Maru see that though? I don't think he did. He just scanned to see the lurkers and now this infestor has some potential. Maybe to get a big fungal. Perhaps it can. Needs to be so careful though, Serral. Serral needs to be so careful. It's barely out of range. Turrets are being built right now and these infestors. Oi. I'm very curious to see if these are going to see some use or if they're just going to die against the next turret that's being built. So Maru is taking some precautions here, spreading turrets all around the map. He's kind of stabilizing at this point once again. Oh. This one's barely out of vision range. What a crazy game. Nidus gets taken out on the far right side as well, as we see Maru now pushing forward. As the game stabilizes and gets slower, this is a scary situation for the Zerg player who wants the game to be very high paced, and that's why we see Serral moving forward right now. Another infestor is moving in. Will he be capable of doing it? I'm not quite sure. Ooh, big attack here out of Serral. Does need to burrow these lurkers. A couple of lurkers in the back will not contribute. Huge fungal on top of all of these ghosts, but no banelings to connect with them. Don't think there's any overseers here either, so a cloak could be absolutely vital in this fight. Yeah, not a single overseer on the map no more. One more is on the way right now, but it's a little too late. Is that a good fight? It's okay, I guess. Right side base is being denied. And as Serral is taking this base, as long as Maru doesn't get his hands on this bad boy, these trades are actually completely fine. You can lose a lot of trades as long as you outmine your opponent, even by only one base. That's a big deal. And Serral might even be considering taking that 3 o'clock base on the far right side. This bad boy. For now, he's mainly focused on trying to keep this 9 o'clock. Gonna send a couple of links over here and try to do some major denial. Liberators moving forward, Ghost also moving in, and I think Serral needs to make an alternative play here. He needs to go somewhere else and needs to get some counterplay in. Starts this hatchery on the right side, I like that. Still very important for him that he does mine as many minerals as he can from over there. Oh, Vipers are moving in, are going to get taken out by these Ghosts. And this hatchery will be retaken immediately. It's 100% the correct call here. These links are gonna die. It's kind of sloppy here out of the Finnish Zerg player. Will be capable of taking out one more SCV. Starts rotating towards the far left side as Maru wants to deal with these links. Still doesn't quite get the burrow. Serral, that is. And now starts kind of taking out turrets all around the map. Once again, we have these 2 lurkers going on a little journey. And it's going to be their final journey as well. Of course, they're not quite aware of that yet. Lurkers in the back, not contributing whatsoever in this fight. So they're actually taking a really poor fight there. Losing a crap ton of money. Losing a crap ton of resources. These 2 lurkers are going to get cleaned up well, relatively easily, honestly. One more scan and this lurker will die as well. Serral struggling to get any type of money in this game. Currently on 1200 minerals per minute. Maru is also on a low income count, but that's mainly because he hasn't been mining from 2 bases. If he gets those 2 bases and he can throw a couple of mules in there, which he definitely can, because once again he has 5 orbitals at this point. So even 2 or 3 mules will definitely aid him in getting more money, but he doesn't even really need the money. He's maxed, he has 2k in the bank. Serral's desperately trying to mine from that 3 o'clock base. And Maru says, hey, as long as I deny the 9 o'clock and the 3 o'clock, you're most likely dying, aren't you? I think Maru spotted this. Yep, there we go. Saw the infestor move underground, scans for it. No cancel on that base, by the way, which isn't that big of a deal usually, but because Serral is so insanely poor, it actually feels kind of bad. Left side base also not being taken. The income for Serral is at a mere 1800 minerals a minute. Solid 1k gas though, as we see the gas bank is rising. And 4 more command centers here are being built for Maru. Now there's a couple of reasons, of course. He wants to start taking these bases with planetaries, and on top of that he wants to get more orbital commands. Extra energy for scans, extra energy for mules, and he can get rid of more SCVs if he does that, because mules will make up for that loss in mineral income. Already at 6 orbitals, and I think at least 2 of these command centers will turn into orbital commands, maybe even 3. Which would actually mean that we're gonna be seeing, what was that, 9? Did I do the math correct? Yeah, probably 9. 9 or 8 orbital commands here. That's a crap ton of mules, that's a crap ton of scans as well. Currently I don't even think we have any mules on the map whatsoever, no we don't. Nuke, however, is gonna try to land. This overseer, hello? Serral, there we go. Spore can also move away obviously, and is going to move away. Might get hit by a nuke. No, blast radius just barely not big enough. Stopped over there. Nidus on the left side gets taken out before it can materialize and pop out a couple of... Oh, I can only assume those was empty actually. I was gonna say probably some lurkers, but nothing was in there. We have ship weapons level 1 on the way, so perhaps for these liberators, you want some extra damage output. We don't have an upgrade for the liberators yet. No advanced ballistics. There is already 6 liberators, so they are playing a serious part here in this play. But no upgrades for them yet. 2 more lips are on the way. Ooh, this might be one of them double planetary things. This might actually be a triple planetary wall here for Maru. It is completely possible. Starts a planetary over here. Bunch of lurkers on the high ground though. Could potentially be dangerous. Oh, but could also be very dangerous here for Serral as these ghosts are trying their best to snipe. Do not quite get it off. We have double planetaries here on the way, so kind of what I was mentioning earlier. Same time we have a command center just chilling in this location, wanting to get that base, and I think Serral is very close to dying here. This sounds silly because he still has a big army, but his income is very low. He's one bad fight away from having to tap out because he has no reproduction whatsoever. This fungal on the high ground has a lot of potential. But all of these ghosts on the far right side also have a lot of potential to take out the final mining base on the right side. And that's the final mining base for Serral, bar these 4 patches. This base is annoying to lose for Maru, but he still has this base and there is 2 planetaries. I think Maru is completely okay with this trade. He's just going to send over a couple of these liberators as well. But there's plenty of scans to go around. And yep, these lurkers are going to get pushed back. A single lurker will sit behind here, but it will also fall as a scan and a planetary shot will take it out. There's a crap ton of Vipers here, by the way. 7 Vipers, 5 infestors, 20 lurkers, 41 drones. This is it. This is the army that Serral needs to use. It's now or never. And really it's going to be now, because he really does need to fight. If he can't get a good fight in the next 30 seconds, I have a very difficult time seeing him win. Here comes the fight. Lurker. Ooh, fungal on the high ground is always a possibility. Couple of parasitic bombs. No, just 1 so far. Big fungal from the low ground. Second big fungal from the low ground. Hello? Is this bad boy on the high ground going to be doing anything? Not so far. Couple of decent abducts as well. A lot of these liberators are going down. Another parasitic bomb. Oh my god, look at these infestors. They're getting in position. They're getting in position. Maru isn't quite seeing it. He's too busy right now. They barely walked into a scan. There's 3 more infestors here on the high ground. Oh, this is going to be close. But sadly, Serral can't really find a way to unburrow these. I think he needs to chase. I think he needs to run into this army and go for it. No. Serral wants to retreat, but that means that these ghosts are going to get a couple of shots off. Here come the fungals. Here come the fungals. 1, 2, 3. Oh, one more. That's not going to be enough. They all end up dying. All the infestors, all the lurkers. Serral taps out. GG gets called. And Maru wins this absolutely marvelous game here on Hardwire. Very action-packed. Very fun. That's going to be it for today. Thanks everyone so much for watching. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And hopefully we'll see you all next time for a new video. Bye bye.